Hello everyone, Rick Robinson here with assignment 4 on the inclusive leadership of race, class, access, gender, and equity. The articles I chose for this assignment come from Ken Blanchard and the People-Centered Leadership, specifically what leading companies do, and then from the same area, Performance Partnerships by Kathy Hewitt and Joni Wickline. Inclusive leadership, in my mind, is really all of those things that we just talked about: access, race, gender, class, all that really encompasses inclusive leadership, and in my mind is really the definition of servant leadership. In the articles that I read, said people-centered leaders care about both people and results. They know the only way they get results is through their people. In many business today, I think leaders are concerned with the bottom line with no regard for the people who work for them. However, the truly inclusive leaders are the ones who understand that their best resource is their people. The old adage, if they take care of their people, train them, and empower them, those people will become fully engaged and gung-ho about what they do. As I said before, servant leadership is people-centered leadership or inclusive leadership. People-centered leadership with its focus on both people and results is what Blanchard says is servant leadership in action. In our studies, I think what I've come to find is that the term servant leadership can be confusing to some people, especially those who think that leadership is about power and control. They think, how can I lead and serve at the same time? When in actuality, just the opposite is true. The more you give away, the more you get. And truly thinking about the heart of the people that you're trying to serve. One of the things that's really important for leaders is to make sure that you set the vision, or at least help the leader, the subordinates understand what the vision is. And again, in the articles, it said in the visionary role, leaders define the direction and the desired results. It's their responsibility to communicate what the organization stands for and wants to accomplish. Once you've done that, then it makes it a lot easier for the people down the line in the organization to get behind the vision and then actually put legs and feet to making that vision come to a reality. I became a disciple of Ken Blanchard many years ago, probably over 30 years ago, when I read one of his books called The 1 Minute Manager. And of course now he's updated that book called The New 1 Minute Manager. And in that book, he really has 3 secrets around people-centered leadership, or again, servant leadership or inclusive leadership. And one of the first is, the first secret is goal setting. And as I said before about setting the vision, goal setting is similar to that. But in this case, you actually help the subordinates set realistic goals that are specific, measurable, realistic, and timely. It's really important that the goals be reviewed regularly to determine how well you're achieving the goal and if any adjustments need to be made. Sometimes we set goals that maybe are too specific or too broad, and they need to be reviewed to see if we're achieving them, as well as to see if we're meeting them or not. And regularly can mean a lot of different things depending on the size of the goal or what the goal is. So regularly can mean weekly, it could mean monthly, or even semi-annually. But the point is that they should be reviewed regularly. The other thing to think about when goal setting is that too many goals can be a burden and actually have the opposite result that the leader is hoping to achieve. If we set or establish so many goals that they become so burdensome that all you're doing is constantly reviewing how well you're doing to reach the goals, you're not going to have enough time to be able to actually go out and do the things that the goals are actually set to have you do. So it's important to have the right balance and the right mix of goals. The second secret, according to Blanchard, is to make sure that we praise. And I think this is one that as leaders we don't do enough of. We need to make sure that we are telling people specifically how well they're doing. And it needs to be assigned or applied to exactly how well they're doing based on the vision that you have set or the mission that you set for them. The rule of praise in public and correct in private applies to this secret. Leaders should be quick to find their followers doing something right and recognize their accomplishment. In fact, Blanchard says that we should try to catch our employees doing something right. We saw this also in the video that we saw in Courage the Heart, when the leaders in the Public Health Service demonstrated how they find many ways to recognize their employees. And one of those, or a couple of those we saw in the video, was the golden paperclip or the Big Daddy plant that was awarded to people who were doing well, and specifically as they were doing well in achieving the goals that have been set. Other examples that we can find in our day-to-day work is just simply a thank you for the hard work that somebody has done, or just a pat on the back acknowledging that they have been working hard and that you appreciate the work that they do. Of course, not everybody does things perfect all the time, and as Blanchard says, we don't call that a punishment, you just call it redirection. Most of the time, people, when they're not doing the things that they should be doing, don't do it on purpose. They do it out of ignorance, or perhaps they're just overburdened with work and they just need to be redirected. And what I find is that most people don't like conflict, and they don't want to tell their subordinates that that they've done something wrong or not in line with the policies that have been established. But as a leader, it is important to make sure that we're helping our subordinates achieve success. And one way we do that is through redirection. And occasionally we need to let them know when they miss the mark and get them back on track. The important thing here is, though, this goal should always be to help, and should always be done in a reaffirming way. One of the quotes I found, and I really like, it says, "Hurt me with the truth, but never comfort me with a lie." And I'm reminded of a story about 10 years ago when I had a subordinate who was about 2 levels down in the chain of command, came to me, or I went to them many times throughout the year, asking them how their subordinates were doing in this particular area that they were working. And I always got, every single time I went and asked and was getting feedback, "Oh, they're doing great, they're doing great. Oh, everything is wonderful." And then as it came time for performance review, I was reviewing the performance report, and the subordinates were marked down all the way over, marked, as they were failing. And when I called in the leader of that area, who had told me that everything was rosy, I began to ask, "Well, tell me what's going on. How are they doing?" And they said to me, "Well, do you want to know honestly?" And I was stunned by that, because I thought that they had been being honest with me throughout the year. And of course, I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be honest all the time. And so I think that we're doing our people a disservice when we don't tell them honestly how well they're doing. And of course, Blanchard believes in that very important principle as well. Part of this assignment was how can we use this information specifically to us? And in the book, The Leadership Challenge that we're reading, the authors highlights a story about a work center that was unsure about their new manager because he didn't provide detailed instructions for the team. After time, the team realized that the manager didn't have time to watch over them because he trusted them with their ability to make decisions. What was interesting is that they were really struggling before that, thinking that the manager should have been giving them a lot more detailed direction and instruction, when in actuality, he trusted them. The team reflected that they were more collaborative and knew they were accountable for their own success after they realized that they had the information all along. And I think as leaders, it's important for us to select the right people in the positions that they're going to go in, and then make sure they're trained, and then allow them to do the job that we've entrusted them to do, and following up with them occasionally. In the education setting, this can be very useful, especially when we create professional learning communities or when we're establishing departments. It's important for administrators to be careful in how they develop these concepts and create a climate in which people feel free to perform and to be in control of their own lives while helping and developing those around them. And it's especially important, I think, in education that teachers and department leaders feel a freedom to be able to do that and not feel that they're being burdened by constant oversight as they go about creating these professional learning communities. The leadership challenges of being an inclusive leader are, there are several obviously, but in the book that we've been reading about, risk seems to be one of the big ones that is highlighted. And the authors recall a story about the Royal Canadian Mounted Police when a new commander was selected and was new in the job and was faced with many challenges from the community regarding the crime rate and low morale of his officers. It was a daunting task as he stepped into it, and of course his reputation was on the line of what kind of leader would he be, and was he going to be able to actually turn around the department and restore the community and their confidence in him and his team. Well, his innovative approaches to include empowering his team and to make decisions and to share in the leadership responsibilities became a success story as outlined in the book. His reputation was definitely on the line, but he stepped up, had faith in his people, and he made a difference in both the lives of his officers and in the community. The references I used for this particular research project are listed here, and I hope that you are a little better equipped now as you've listened to these ideas from Ken Blanchard and from the Leadership Challenge book. Thank you.